In my last haul, I showed you this huge box of books, and today I'm finally going to show you what is inside. These arrived ages ago, but I actually haven't taken a proper look into what is inside. I just counted the books to make sure everything was in there, but I haven't looked at them closely, so we're going to be doing that together. I will say that the box comes from Valancourt books, and it is related to the A World of Horror reading project that I launched earlier this year. So if you haven't watched the announcement video for that, I will link it somewhere around here. But basically, it consists of reading books from different countries in the world, actually trying to read from every country in the world. So when I saw that Valancourt Books had an offer for their international horror series, I ordered the whole collection. This is Michelle's Melancholia, where we read books to fear and shed a tear, and today we're going to be looking at some international horror books. So I've put the box on the floor and I'm just going to be pulling out books one by one and showing them to you. The first one is The Black Maybe, Liminal Tales by Attila Veres. I think that's how you pronounce it. And Attila Veres is Hungary's leading horror writer, according to the synopsis. And this is a collection of 10 short stories. Just to give you an idea of what to expect, in the title story, The Black Maybe, a girl and her family escape the city bustle to experience farm life, only to discover with unimaginable horror the truth of what is really being harvested there. And I think most of his stories fall into the realm of the weird, which, as you may know, is now a new favorite of mine. And actually, just last week, I was listening to a podcast interview with Mariana Enriquez, and she very highly recommended this book, so I'm pretty sure it's going to be a great one. The next book we have is A Different Darkness and Other Abominations by Luigi Musolino, who is an Italian author, and this seems to feature mostly folk horror. It includes 8 short stories and 3 novellas. So in the title novella, after a little girl vanishes in a supermarket, her parents find an unexpected solace when they discover a bottomless pit in their basement from which her laughter seems to echo. But the abyss's shimmering darkness is not what it seems. And I think all of his stories, or most of them, are set in Piedmont, the city or area, not sure, from where the author is a native. So these may turn out to be a very interesting experience. Then we have Intimations of Death by Felix Timmerman, who is from Belgium. This book includes 5 tales, and this collection, written after a near-death experience with a serious illness, reveal a more morbid side and delivers a collection of psychological horror tales worthy of Edgar Allan Poe. These stories seem to revolve more around death and illness. There are plagues and a vengeful ghost. The next book is Swedish Cults by Anders Fager. By the way, sorry if I pronounce any of these wrong. I looked them up as best as I could, and this is from Sweden. And these stories reveal the author's native land as a place where dark and unimaginable things happen, where deep in the woods grisly sacrifices are made to ancient and monstrous deities during blood-drenched orgies. That caught me off guard. And these stories are described as horrific, infectious, and provocative. They will scar you forever. So I am obviously looking forward to these. The following book is The Coming of Joachim Stiller by Hubert Lampo, and this is also from Belgium. I think this falls more under the category of magical realism, but I think with a pretty dark twist. This is about a journalist who values his peace and quiet above all else, until his orderly life is upended by the intrusion of a mysterious figure calling himself Joachim Stiller. And the journalist becomes obsessed with figuring out who this person is. With the help of a beautiful mathematician and a dealer in occult books, Frick tries to solve the riddle, but none of them will be prepared for the final revelation of the shocking truth. I never before even heard of this, and it sounds really up my alley. I love magical realism and I love books that read like puzzles, so this could be a winner for me. Next up, we have The Lake of the Dead by Andre Bjerke. This is from Norway. It is a thriller which features an unusual mixture of murder mystery and supernatural horror that will keep readers guessing until its thrilling conclusion. I love a supernatural thriller, and this takes place in a cabin that seems to be cursed, and anyone who spends the night there is possessed by a killer's spirit and infected with his madness, which sounds super cool. The next book is The Tenant by Roland Topo, who is from France. And this is described as surreal and hallucinatory, but also grotesque and harrowing. So it's probably pretty intense. And it is about a man in desperate need of a place to live who comes across an affordable apartment, undaunted by the fact that the previous tenant hurled himself screaming through the window. And a series of bizarre events unfold that leave this man doubting his sanity and fearing for his life. So another one that sounds really good. And finally, we have the Valancourt Book of World Horror Stories Volume 1 and also Volume 2. I don't know if you noticed, but the rest of the collection is all about European authors, whereas I'm very happy to report that these collections actually include short stories from authors all over the world. So just to give some examples, we have authors from Mexico, Martinique, Ecuador, South Africa, the Philippines, Senegal, and Peru. And then in Volume 2, we now have representatives from Brazil, South Korea, Nigeria, Israel, Puerto Rico, Malta, Argentina, India, Japan, Haiti, and China. So really, these are such a treasure trove of international horror. And actually, I am super excited to share with everyone that this year, Valancourt will be releasing an anthology of weird and horror stories by Bernardo Esquinca, one of Mexico's leading horror authors. I have a couple of his books. Have I read them? No, but we don't talk about that. Honestly, having a translated version of his works is going to motivate me to finally read him, because I will be able to talk about it with more people. I just don't know any Mexican people who read horror. So when it comes out, I'm going to need all of you to buy it and read it so we can discuss. That would make me super happy. Finally, I just want to say that if you are interested in reading international horror, come join the World of Horror Discord. I will link it below. I know I've had a bit of a slow start with the project. I've just had a tough couple of months, to be honest, but I am working on making it more interactive. I was thinking maybe a readathon later this year. Let me know if you'd be interested in that. It can be a week or 2 weeks or a whole month. Let me know what you think. We already have a pretty decently sized database of international horror from many different countries, so there are definitely a lot of options out there. Let me know in the comments if any of the books I showed today excite you, and we could also organize a read-along for any of them. Thank you so much for joining me once again, and I will see you on my next video, hopefully very soon. Goodbye!